Look, okay, what's good? It's your boy Genie, and hey, I'm gonna be completely honest with you, right? Straight off the rip. This video, the script writing, the recording right now, the editing, is all being done in the span of 48 hours. So that hopefully this video comes out today when you're watching it. Not even hopefully, it will. So that this video comes out today when you're watching it. The reason for that is because my head has basically been engulfed by university. See, you wouldn't think that because last month I brought out 2 videos. I did well. And this one, this time around, this video is coming out. But basically, this entire month I've been more or less engulfed by university. So much of my time, so much of my effort that I've not had any time to do script writing, recording, editing at all. Hence why we're in this position right now. However, regardless of that, the show must still go on. So today's video is going to be not about a specific game, but as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, a genre of games. And also, hopefully this time around, my camera doesn't freak out the way that it did last time. Fingers crossed. If it doesn't, like I said before, the show must go on. Okay, so that being said, the topic of this video is fighting games. Fighting games in general, because the fighting game scene and the fighting game community have been in a really good spot as of recent, okay? The last few months and whatnot has been incredible for fighting games. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the fighting games that have improved or have gone over some incredible change, and then some improvements we want going forward or want to hopefully see from some other fighting games. And where better to start than the fighting game that has received the most positive reception and feedback. And what better game to start it off with than Guilty Gear Strive, or more specifically Guilty Gear Strive 2.0. See, this Guilty Gear Strive 2.0 update was anticipated and spoken about for quite a while. We'd seen quite a bit about it. And it was supposed to be this massive patch that was essentially going to change Guilty on a whole. And then it came out, and I ain't gonna lie, the developers cooked up on this one, okay? They really did that thing. Guilty Gear Strive 2.0 really did improve a lot of the things that people had problems with. It removed a mechanic in the game that a lot of people had a problem with because it kept people in the offense for longer, and replaced it with a new system that is far less oppressive. Then it even dealt with a lot of the top tier characters, or a lot of the characters that people complained about the most, like Nago, Happy Chaos, Elfelt, Asuka, among many others. I mean, the changes were so drastic that many people who played Guilty Gear were saying that Guilty pretty much felt like an entire new game. It was so well received that the amount of people who started picking up Guilty after this patch, especially new people to the game, was insane. Like, Guilty Gear's numbers really went up. The stocks were through the roof. And I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of funny seeing everyone's reaction to Happy Chaos more or less being gutted and killed. It was kind of funny, I'm not gonna lie. Adding on top of that, the fact that they now have a ranked system, which obviously didn't come with Guilty Gear Strive 2.0. The ranked system has been in the game for a bit longer, but now that they finally have one, it's even better. And then they obviously just introduced a new character, Jam, which is very much, I think, well received by a lot of the community, even with the fact that she does focus a bit more on Rushdown. And even them announcing that Robo Kai will be making a return to the game, a character that is very widely sort of one of the community favorites. So on a whole, Guilty Gear Strive, without a doubt, is probably the fighting game that, like again, in this video, probably would have been the most well received, and we would have got the most positive feedback from. The devs simply just cooked up. They said it was going to be different. They said it was going to be a shakeup, and that's exactly what it was. Then let's move on to the next game that received, once again, quite a large amount of positive feedback for its most recent patch. The one, the only, Tekken 8. Now here's the thing. Tekken 8's initial Season 3 patch was terrible. It was so terribly received, okay, by the community, because it just failed to do a lot of the things that people had been asking for, as well as the fact that this back to basics propaganda that they threw onto us, none of the patch reflected that. none of the patch worked on this idea of back to basics. It was just, I guess, I forgot what the word's called, but basically it was a buzzword in order to just get us hyped for it, just for it to not do anything that we wanted it to. And then they brought out the most recent patch, and that, honestly, had they said back to basics and then brought out this patch, it would have been 10 times better. Because this patch fixed the one, or dealt with the one single mechanic that everyone hates in the game, and probably the single most complained about and broken mechanic in the game, being heat. It fixed the heat system well, not fixed, but it essentially nerfed the heat system for every single character in the game. Everyone received nerfs to heat. And generally what it did is, firstly, heat boosted moves. A lot of characters have their moves enhanced when they're in heat, and in doing so, certain moves can become launchers. They removed that. Then they did it so that these heat boosted moves were now consuming more heat, meaning that you can't just go batshit crazy and use it like 4 times. You could probably even use it at maximum twice with certain characters before you run out of heat. Incredible. And to finish it off, that flipping cherry on top of the cake is that heat dash moves, heat dash that you'd normally use in order to extend your combo, would now cause the character to end the combo, meaning that at best you could do follow-up attacks. That's a ding, ding, and a ding, because, hey, that's a strike out the park. I don't know what else you want to call it. It was straight green, okay? This patch clearly dealt with the complaints that a lot of characters had with this overall heat system. Now, did this essentially make everyone worse? Yes, and this is a good thing. However, it did also make the characters who already weren't that great even worse. So characters like Devil Jin, those Devil Jin fans, if there are even any at this point, got it pretty rough right now. But it may have been a necessary sacrifice. Now, from someone who personally stepped away from Tekken because Tekken became very unfun for me to play, this patch isn't enough to bring me back. And just for me anyway, it's because there are still a lot of characters in the game who have 50-50 demons, gambling demons, and essentially are plus for like 90% of the round. This patch was a good patch, and I will give them their flowers for it. But if I'm being honest, it was probably the first good patch we actually received. And I still need more in order for me to come back to the game personally. Like I say again, it was a very good patch, it was a strong patch, and it was a step in the right direction. However, the job's not finished. And once the job is finished, once they do deal with reducing a lot of the overall characters' movesets, making sure that they're not plus so much, I'll come in running around the corner with my fight stick in no time. No time. And then there's also 2XKO, a game that many did show their disapproval for Riot releasing a lot of the dev team. However, the most recent patch did apparently deal with a lot of the top tier characters, so it does seem as though a lot of the Guilty Gear fans are generally quite happy about it. Plus, they did bring out a new character being Akali, a character that walks, talks, and acts like a ninja, but apparently isn't a ninja? Either way, it seems as though the Guilty Gear, the 2XKO fans are enjoying themselves right now, so all the more to it. And then we even have some games that haven't even come out yet. I mean, the Avatar Legends fighting game, we've seen some pretty good stuff from that, and we just recently had a exhibition match, I think you would call it, between Justin Wong and Diaphone. From that, the game also seems pretty flipping good. For a game that basically comes out in 2 months' time now, I know for sure I'm going to be playing it, but the game is looking pretty cool already. And then coming out of nowhere is Dragon Ball FighterZ, a game that just recently released its DLC character, Super Saiyan 4 Daima Goku, out of nowhere, okay? A character that I think not much playtesting was done for him, because I'm pretty sure, as I may be showing now, someone found a 0 to death with him. So there is a bit of an issue there, but to be fair, for a game that came out almost 10 years ago now, that's pretty crazy that they even got a DLC character. I mean, to be fair, I bet even further back, they did just release a very big patch, which was kind of crazy and out of nowhere. And even, well, a bit after that patch, but before Daimogoku came out, we had the Dragon Ball Masters Showdown event, where we had some of the most iconic names from Dragon Ball Z Fighters, Dragon Ball Fighters Z's competitive scene come back one last time to fight each other, including names like Goichi, Sonic Fox, Grupus, and Hikari. I mean, we even had this iconic moment from the match between Goichi and Sonic Fox.
Players like Goichi on the 2-player, both base Vegeta with the base Vegetas. Work this out! Work this out! They are the best for a reason! They are undeniable! The Dragon Ball Fighters Master Showdown is off to the races!
So hey, for a game that came out basically about 10 years ago, it seems as though the game is still alive and kicking. Then there was actually the introduction of a new 3D fighting game, one that I specifically just recently actually just learned about. It's supposed to, well, it was just announced, being Kingdom Heroes Arena, a 3D fighting game that looks at characters from the Chinese era, more specifically the dynasty, the Eastern Han Dynasty, in which we see characters from the trailer such as Lu Bu, Guan Yu, Dong Zhao, and Yao Xiao. And from someone who has played Dynasty Warrior Origins, yeah, I'm hyped for this game. It's just because not only did I have to fight against Lu Bu himself, okay, but now there's a fighting game in which I get to play as the flying general himself. Yeah, this is 1000% a fighting game that I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for. Like I said again, this was just recently announced, so we probably won't see this one till next year, but once again, the gameplay for it looks pretty cool. It's still in early development, but I can't wait for it regardless, so I will be looking out for that. Now onto the fighting games that we're hoping to see some improvements from. And this wouldn't be a video talking about fighting games if I didn't talk about the most popular one, that being Street Fighter. Street Fighter last patch was kind of a nothing sandwich, okay? It didn't really do much, and regarding the top tiers, they are probably still top tier characters. Okay, it didn't really do a whole lot. And if it counts for anything, you know, we did just recently have the trailer for Ingrid, who's coming back to the game. But once again, if that counts for anything. And one thing I find kind of funny is a while ago, I watched a Lotus Asakura video, and it was when the initial Season 3 Tekken patch came out. And around that same time, Street Fighter also got a pretty large patch, the one I was talking about. And like again, both of the patches, terrible, were pretty much bad, didn't really do anything. And I remember I'll try and find a clip either from his video or try and find the tweet. But both the Street Fighter and the Tekken fans were basically upset about the patches. Yet the Street Fighter community didn't even want to grieve with us because our patch was far worse than theirs. Like, both the Street Fighter and the Tekken community received bad patches, but the Street Fighter community wanted nothing to do with us because our patch was worse than theirs. Like, literally, even though we both received bad patches, they were like, well, yes, our patch is bad, but it's nowhere near as bad as yours. So they wanted nothing to do with us. They didn't even want to grieve with us.
And the Street Fighter players go through something similar because they also just got a big nothing burger patch on the same day as we did. And you know what's funny about that as well? I made a tweet, and maybe I'll throw it up on screen or whatever. I don't know. Matter of fact, let me just go grab it real quick. I made a tweet because I was quoting, I think it was Big Bird. Was it Big Bird? I quoted Big Bird, and he was like, yeah, he was like, what is this patch? Why is Capcom too scared to actually make big changes? And then here, let me throw this over here. And I quoted it, and I was like, you too, Street Fighter 6 bros. And you know what's funny about that? And it's sad, but it is kind of funny. Also, I'm getting flashbang. You know, what's funny about that is that the Street Fighter niggas started replying. I was like, nah, don't lump us in with you. Ain't that fucked up? It was like literally Fidel, the jaw dropper, y'all might have seen before. He replies, not as bad as you. And there are some people that were like, yeah, But then like, nah, Tekken is in hell right now. Nah, not even close. Y'all in shambles. Not nearly as bad, but yes. Oh nah, don't group us with y'all. So it was just like damn, bro, we can't even be miserable together. And the rest of the FGC really looking at us like, we down bad, but y'all down horrendous. So ain't that some shit, man? We can't even wallow in despair together. This is crazy.
But Luke, who is laughing now? Fingers crossed I don't end up jinxing anything. But yeah, that was kind of funny to me, to be honest. Another fighting game that I'm hoping to see improvements from is Tekken, to be honest. Though I did speak about it in a very positive light, and I don't want to get rid of that. Like I say again, the patch was a good patch, but in my opinion, it was probably the first good actual patch that we had received. And to be honest, I'm hoping that we get another patch, because I think there is another patch that's supposed to come out in May, late May, I think, for that. We are supposed to get another patch, and I'm hoping that with this patch we probably get nerfs to overall characters' movesets, because like I say again, even though everyone has been nerfed in the heat sense, there are still characters that outside of heat are 50-50 demons and are plus like 90% of the time, and we need to reduce that in order to make the game a bit more enjoyable to play. So like I say again, even though it's not enough for me to come back to the game, I'll stay on the lookout, because hey, if they can do one good patch, it means they can do another. So let's just hope that they stay going in this direction and we pick up momentum. Once again, like I said before, the job's not finished. So let's see what the Tekken devs can do. Now, this one is sort of like a 50-50. It's in line, because this is more so a specific improvement rather than a overall general improvement for the game. And for that, I need to bring our attention right back to Guilty Gear. See, remember before how I said Happy Chaos is dead, gutted, he's not that good anymore? Well, I kind of lied. Long story short, and I'll hopefully show it, I'll hopefully have some visuals to show what I'm talking about. But basically, prior, Happy Chaos used to, reload his gun one bullet at a time. However, now what they did in Guilty Gear 2.0 is they had it so that Happy Chaos reloads all of his bullets at once. However, they increase the frames, meaning that it just takes longer to do this. Now, this is the key part that you need to take into consideration, because as well as some new moves and whatnot that they introduced to him, it's that key part that we want to sort of hone in on. The reason why I mention this is that I'm pretty sure people have found an infinite to do on Happy Chaos. Yes, you did hear that right. Happy Chaos, the character that we thought was dead, has an infinite.
Yep, immediate gold burst, and this is the situation, right? Already we're seeing the portals coming on through, and for Walter to escape this particular situation, you would have to backdash this first reticle shot perfectly, and that is a very tight timing window. Otherwise, you're pretty much locked down from this standpoint. And Jack, perfectly managing the resources, keeping the concentration up, able to be very aggressive with these bullets, because as soon as you reload the gun, you get all of your bullets back.
Got infinite tension glitch right here.
Yeah.
I'm having a great time, dude. This is hilarious. This is legal at EVO Japan, guys. Chat,
Yep.
This is legal.
Yeah, again,
Someone's
it's the
got,
double.
I will say someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it, and I'm glad that we get to see it.
Y'all, Art System Works is looking to patch stuff like this out of the game. They're aware that Happy Chaos has an infinite. This isn't quite the positioning of it, but the big problem here is that I think the Reddit...
This character that everyone was so happy to be dead, no pun intended, hadn't actually died. He was very much still alive and kicking. And the problem with this is that EVO Japan is coming up rather soon, and it doesn't seem as though the dev team is going to be able to fix this in time in order to stop it. So it seems as though it's probably going to end up happening, or we're probably going to end up seeing this at EVO Japan. And because people are pretty much accepted the fact that it's probably going to be confirmed at EVO Japan, or it's probably going to not get removed by the time EVO Japan comes about, pros have been learning how to do the infinite to use at EVO Japan. Long story short, Happy Chaos never truly dies. And to be honest, this is where I'm going to wrap things up. Now, to be fair, I haven't mentioned anything for Fatal Fury or Under Night in Birth, or Under Night in Rebirth, because to be honest, I don't really know what's going on with these games. I know for Fatal Fury, I'm pretty sure they released Geese, and we even had a trailer about a month ago of Kenshiro, but apart from that, I don't know too much myself. What I will say though is that if there was ever a time for you to be getting into fighting games, now would be the time. Because generally speaking, of the fighting games that are available, they're all in a pretty decent spot, or a much greater spot than they were in. So don't waste time, get learning, keep going at it, because what greater experience is there than learning a fighting game? Either way, this has been your boy Genie, and I will see you guys next month. See ya.